Welcome to Campfire Wisdom. Grab a seat around the fire and tell us your story.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Campfire Wisdom. We have a very special guest on the show today. My friend Craig Culbertson is a teacher, father, and is going to give us a little bit of history behind the now largest strike in American history in Arizona. The teachers were striking. It looks like they are actually going back to work on Monday, but there's a lot of history here, and there's a lot of dialogue about what's important for us as a society, so I thought it would be definitely relevant to share here. So I hope you enjoy, and here he is. Without any further ado, my buddy, Craig Culbertson.
It's great to be with you here on the chat because it's like, yeah, it's better than a phone call in some ways. It's like super crisp and clean. I love it.
Well, it's interesting. It's like the cheapest mic. All the other mics are all broken. My kid like messed up all the foam on them. Dude, or she was little. She was sucking on them or pulling on them.
Oh my gosh, that's
so
funny.
This one was like $10, and I pulled it out of the closet. It was like I was having mad issues when I was trying to play with Ross Dog on a couple games.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this is great. I've known you since I moved in there in '79.
Yeah, dude.
38.
Well, I was born in '77. Your family was right on that street, and so yeah, it's been 30 years, dude.
Yeah,
30,
dude.
No, more than that.
More than that.
38.
So at Bloom, when you got to Bloom in kindergarten,
yeah,
that's when I knew you. Yeah.
Well, and that's when I first saw Brian, your brother.
Yeah, crazy.
He was still wearing his lederhosen.
Probably.
I think he was, dude. People kind of were like, "What are those?" And he never wore them again.
That's funny. He loved that shit. I think I had worn those too, because obviously there's hand-me-downs in our family. But yeah, he was rocking that in school, fucking lederhosen. That's hilarious.
He'd be a hipster now, man. Everybody love him now. Dude,
I know, like, oh, Brian, you're so hip.
So I like this lederhosen.
I know.
Yeah, dude, it's cool, man. See, Brian's got his kids.
Yeah. So, dude, I gotta admit, I know shit about the fucking strike until I was talking to my sister-in-law. She's like, "Oh yeah, the teacher strike," and I was like, "What?" I wasn't following social media. So, dude, you got to get me up to speed because we talked briefly a little bit about it. But any movement in the whole dealio? What's going down?
Well, yeah, you must. What were you been hiding out in the forest or what, man? How do you not following this?
I'm a Californian now, dude. I've been here 10 years. You believe that?
Yeah, hipsters, dude. You guys. Yeah. So really, dude, this has been like 10 years plus in the making, and to get into it later, I think that we've created so much of a little bit of a culture of a complacency. And in 2008, they started to really cut the budget, and it's basically been about something crazy like $1 billion every year since then. So we're short $10 billion. And so the funding, the five things that really the Red Fred was looking for, at least in Arizona, was teacher pay was one of them, because it was dismal. And it kind of just started with some of these other states that were doing the Red Fred, and I think Arizona finally was like, "Hey, yeah, us too," and people started posting their paychecks, and they were posting how much their insurance costs, and people that. These are people that have degrees, master's degrees, fingerprint security cards. They have to have state license that are renewed every so often, and they're making, they're not even pulling $34,000 a year, and they're like, we can go do that anywhere.
Wow.
And so that was the first part. The second part is the support staff, which is like your monitors and food, counselors, like really crucial positions. They also have not gotten a raise. And so I started teaching in 2006. And when I got my master's, I looked into it. I said, okay, I'm not getting into teaching for the money, but I want to be able to be comfortable and be able to take care of my family.
Yep.
Well, they used to have a pace step where you would step like horizontally and for every year. And then if you had anything extra, like a master's, a doctorate, any professional credit hours, you could step also vertically, which ended up being like a diagonal step. And so by your 10th year, you can make about 50,000. And then I think it capped at 69,000. And so some of the teachers that were teaching me as my cooperating teacher going through my college program, they were all making that kind of money, which seems pretty cool by the end of your career. Well, It was like, yeah, about my second or third year teaching, so that puts us right about 2008, 2009.
Okay.
They got rid of the steps. They put a freeze on raises. They got rid of tenure. They even riffed a bunch of teachers that year. I think TUSD and I think they had to fire like 300 teachers that year. They hired most of them back,
Jesus.
but so that's kind of where it started. And the weird thing is,
So
being
how do they hire them back? So they say, "Oh, we're firing you on what we used to pay you, but you can come back at this rate," type shit.
yeah, they would. So they called it a riff. They're like, all right, yeah. So based on the budget, we can't hire these teachers, but we're hoping to get like an override. So they give you like basically, yeah, you get fired, and then they hire people back. But um, people that were on the old pay scale were all making upwards like 50, 60, maybe even at the top at 69.
Okay.
And then you got a teacher that's been working there for 10 years right across the hall doing the exact same job, and they're making 32. Now, nobody has a problem with people making more,
Yeah.
but it was the idea that every year you would step just a little bit and eventually you would get there too. So that all went away, and I think people
So
finally
that's '06. In '06, they put the freeze on things.
about '08 is when it started.
About
2000.
'08.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
I started in 2006.
You started in '06. Okay, roger that.
And so that was the first thing, was teacher pay. The second one was support staff pay, and the third thing they were looking for was competitive pay. So Arizona, man, we can't get teachers to stay. People will leave. Most teachers don't make it past their third year in teaching.
Wow.
And so they started watching this trend, especially in Arizona. Like, for instance, the University of Arizona, the enrollment in the of Ed went way down, way down. And then out of the people that were actually graduating, I think it was 50% of them wouldn't even stay in Arizona in the first place
Jeez.
because they could go to a different state and make way more.
Mhm.
And out of the 50% that did stay, half of those guys didn't even make it past their third year. So they wanted to be able to be competitive. For instance, like if you're working in Connecticut and you were making, let's say, 60, you want to move to Arizona, you have family here, you would expect that, let's say, a teacher working 15, 20 years would make, let's say, about 60, come to Arizona and make something similar, right?
Mhm.
Well, no, they're like, oh, hey, start all the way at the bottom at 31.9 or something crazy. Like, so we can't recruit, people are leaving, the enrollment in the actual education's gone down, and this has been just a spiraling trend for a long time. So it's crazy, man. They can't get teachers, they can't recruit teachers, teachers are leaving, and you can just go right across the border and make double the money. I'm a teacher for 13 years. I have a master's in education, I have an undergrad in psychology, and then I even have an associate's in gen ed, and so I have 3 degrees, and I can make the same working down at the corner store. And that's a fact.
That's crazy. So you're basically, at any given moment that based on how long you've been teaching, that wow, I'm doing the exact same job and I'm meeting the exact same requirements as this guy over here, but he's getting paid more. That's crazy.
Right. And so that was another part of the problem, is that you had like this rift where you had like half of your teachers making a lot of money and they were pretty happy. Like they weren't going to really rock the boat. And so when it came up for time to strike or walk out, they weren't really hip to it. Like if you were capped out at 70, they weren't, really excited about, potentially putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, I
But
see
as time
that.
has gone on, more and more of them have retired, and there's still a handful left. But that was the other big complaint. They said, well, how is it that teachers 20 and 30 years ago were able to make, let's say, 70,000, but now they're saying the budget doesn't have enough to even support 50?
Yeah.
And that doesn't count for inflation and doesn't count for DSEG money. And back then we used to be capped at one teacher for every 25 kids. Now we're at 1 in 30, 1 in 40. I think Danny had 45 kids in his class. It's 45 kids. Good luck teaching with that. And so the next part was they had to restore the funding. So that was the fourth thing, was they had to restore the funding back to
Okay.
2008. And again, it just kind of started to swell as a grassroots movement. I don't know if it was CNN or some news station said, hey, post pictures of your classrooms, and all these teachers started just posting the most dilapidated, it was sad atrocities. You got mold, you had desks falling apart, water dripping, they had rusted pipes, termites, cockroaches, and it wasn't just one or two classrooms. This was like statewide, and these were kids
Wow.
going to school in. And so it makes you kind of wonder. And so people kind of think I tend to be a little bit more fringe, or maybe I'm a little more ahead of it at sometimes. And so I was screaming this stuff 10 years ago and nobody really listened. I said, hey, the whole system seems kind of rigged. And now people are starting to realize they're using the term pipeline to prison.
Okay.
So what they do is this is scary. They look at third grade testing scores to determine the vacancy of prisons, like a 10-year projection. That's insane. Why are you looking at third grade? Right now in Arizona, we have all these private prisons. So what's going on here is it's like, here's where the conspiracy stuff comes in, but the Koch brothers have done a lot to kind of undermine public education.
Okay.
Governor Ducey has done a lot to undermine the education. They keep cutting, yet they want to institute vouchers for private schools or for charter schools, and that just takes even more money out of the system, right? So it's kind of like this. If the kids happen to be a really good student and they make it through the public school system, hey, great, they're an awesome member of society. And if they end up incarcerated, that's okay too, because we make a lot of profit on that. These are for-profit prisons. Like, that's insane. So I teach fourth graders. I teach fourth graders this year. I have 30 kids in my class, and they're all
dude.
super high needs.
Okay.
100% free and reduced lunch. So we're inner city, Title I. It's tough, and these kids are very needy. And even these guys, I put on the board. I said, okay, Arizona pays us about $4,000 for every one of you guys in here.
Yeah.
But they pay prisoners or prisons $24,000 for every prisoner.
Yeah.
So it's $4,000 for kids, $24,000 for prisoners. And even the 10-year-olds had their hands up and they're like, isn't that kind of backwards? And how do you tell a 10-year-old? You're like, yeah, it is backwards, because you either invest in them now, and we know this, you either invest in these kids now, a little bit, or society has to pay a lot when they're incarcerated later. It's like a 6 times the amount of money.
Is there like I know a lot of times when there's always like a movement, there's like leadership and then there's a plan. Is there a plan like saying, hey, we want this number to go from like 4,000 to 8, or to like go to, I don't know, anything?
Yeah, I mean, the movement this time was to get it just restored back to where it was in 2008. But
and that was basically just restoring the diagonal moves, and like you talked about, for people who
that was actually for the student funding.
Oh, roger that. Okay.
So a lot of people got really mad at the Red Fred because they didn't understand why teachers were walking out, and of course it puts a huge burden on parents, right?
Wait, what's Red Fred?
Well, that's the organization of the movement that's saying, hey, everyone wears red, and that kind of became their slogan. And it started in a couple other states. And if you look at Arizona, so even if we went back to the 2008 funding for the students that the state gave the students, we were still really low. I think currently we are ranked, depends on what metric you use, but I think we're ranked 50th in what we invest into our children.
Wow.
Into our schools. Maybe 48th, depending on the metric. Some people say 43rd, but either way, not good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're investing in our future. Like, these kids are the kids that are going to go into the community. They're going to be in charge of putting medicine in your arm and driving people around. And when they take over, like, what are we investing in them? What are we doing for them?
Yeah. Well, how's the movement going? I know, like, so there was supposed to be some negotiation, and then the people walked out, and then they're supposed to go into adjourn, right? Shortly here.
Well, they finally ended it. They ended it for my district. USD ended, and we are all returning back on Monday. A lot of other districts went back, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. But in the past, the governor has said, hey, we're going to do this for you. Go back to work. Everything's great. And then when it's time to vote, all kinds of fuckeries were about. And next thing you know, they don't pass it the way they were supposed to, or they move monies around. And so a lot of the districts stayed out to make sure that they finally voted on it and make sure it went through. And it finally went through yesterday.
So they actually voted on it.
They did. It was a budget that it's still not great. And a lot of people were disappointed that the movement didn't get the demands met the way they wanted to.
Okay.
But now the next slogan is remember in November, because a lot of these people need to be voted out. A lot of these senators and whatnot need to, people need to vote them out. Power is to the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we need to get more of a, and it seems, people keep saying they want a bipartisan agreement here, but it does seem that the conservative side has been really pushing to kind of cripple the public education system.
Yeah, that blows my mind, man. It's like cornerstone, me being a hardcore fan of the revolutionary era and the progression of education from, that solid state public, format that instills in its citizens, the idea of what makes up a good citizen, the foundations of your nation, all that kind of stuff. And, all constraints aside, we know there's good education, bad education, but just the foundation itself of like having that funded by the state, I think that's critical for like a healthy country or healthy nation,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes back to this the pipeline to prison thing. We're investing so heavily into our these prison and incarcerations that if we actually just hit it early, in the younger ages, we'd be able to find things. And for these kids and these people that go into our societies, and right now we've cut vocation. There is no vocational schools anymore. So plumbing, welding, all this stuff's gone. There's no wood shop. There's no mechanic shop. It's all gone. And so they wonder why these kids feel lost. And they're trying to get everybody to go straight to college, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if that's not your learning modality or what your interest is, we're kind of setting these guys up to fail.
Yeah.
We're not giving them a variety of experiences.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to even the business of education too. Higher education itself has become such a monumental beast, as far as people, you're able to get student loans for everything, but good luck if you don't pay that bill. Yeah.
I think they said tuition has doubled faster than inflation. Like nothing else has done that for like the last 10 years. Like it's absolutely insane for college tuition. I remember, dude, when I graduated, it was like $900 a semester, and now they're talking. These kids are paying $7,500 a semester.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're graduating with $200,000 in debt, and then you want to pay them $32,000 a year, and then wonder why they can't make their student loans.
Yeah, I know. I'm still paying on mine. I still owe. I got it down to like 26, and then I had to defer it, and then back up to 30. Now I got it below 30 again. It's like fucking A.
I'm the same way. The only thing I do like is that if you work in the public sector for 10 years, or I should say you make 120 payments, then they will wipe the debt, that is a good thing. But you got to make it 10 years. And right now we don't have half of them aren't making it past year 3.
Yeah, wow.
And it's so I'll tell you another story that's pretty crazy. So this is kind of my viewpoint on it. I feel like the far right and the far left aren't really contributing here. So for instance, Danny, he's a teacher, and he was a math teacher. Now, middle school math teacher, those aren't exactly easy to find. He was good. He had the highest test scores in the school. And because of funding, they decided to riff him. So that basically means they let him go temporarily. Over the summer, they said, hey, we have a position, but not in math. We want you to be a PE teacher. Like, that's insane, right? So then he ends up being a PE teacher. And
wait, he had just got his students to have really good test scores.
Yeah, the highest in the school, like 2 years in a row.
And who took his place?
Don't know.
Oh my God. So did they just get someone in there that they could pay less?
I have no clue.
Wow.
So he ends up meeting a girl who's also a teacher, and she's a science middle school teacher, which is also ridiculously hard to find. Okay. Hard. If you have a math degree or a science degree, typically these people are going to be working somewhere else making a lot of money, right?
Yeah, that's like the STEM program, right? Science, technology. What's the E stand for?
Science, technology. Oh, now you got me blanking on.
Oh, and just math. Actually, I think engineering. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, some schools do STEAM, which I like, which is they add in a little art. So it's science, technology, engineering, art, and math, which I think is a good thing. But so anyway, he meets a girl, and they end up having 2 kids, and so they are actually financially more solvent by her not working. By her not working, then she doesn't have to pay daycare. She qualifies for free medical for all the kids and whole family access. And so their family they get food stamps. I think they get the milk thing. I can't remember what it's called. This is what's crazy about our society. Like, I really believe there should be a basic universal income where people are comfortable. If you're going to work, especially as a science teacher, you should be doing better than not working. Like, there's
Yeah.
no incentive for her to go back to work. They do better by her not working. That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, because you're talking about the cost of childcare and all the
Medical.
medical, everything. Yeah, that's crazy.
So they drop down and they end up making more money and qualifying for more tax breaks and cuts and free things than if they worked. So it's absolutely crazy. And I use this analogy a lot. So it's like going to a potluck, and you got 10 people, and number 5 and 6, they all show up with the food for the potluck. You know, the thing about the potluck is everybody's got to bring something.
Hmm.
Well, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 can't afford anything. And then 7, 8, 9, and 10 have these crazy tax vouchers, so they don't have to bring any of the potluck. So you got the people in the middle, number 5 and 6, trying to support both sides. It's insane. It makes sense for them not to work. Like I have students, and I'm not going to judge, but they're on food stamps. They qualify for free breakfast, free lunch. Our school gives them clothing. We give them their uniforms, supplies, backpacks, absolutely everything. But then their parents pick their kids up in these brand new Mustang GTs or SUVs that are $40,000-$50,000 cars. And they're talking about their PlayStations, and the system is clearly broken. Like, how are they qualifying? Right. And that's another problem Arizona is having. There's a lot going on here, right? So not only do they start cutting the funding, but in Arizona, we also have a pretty high amount of people that are here illegally. Now, personally, I think if you're here, they should be allowed to be here, but they need to be able they need to pay into the system, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so that's another issue we have is, like, if you got, let's say I have 30 kids in my class, I wouldn't be surprised if half of them, their parents aren't paying into the tax system the way that, working people are. They're sure they pay their sales tax on things.
Yeah.
But so that's another thing that hurts. You got more people taking cookies out of the cookie jar than you do have putting in. And so it puts
Yeah.
another financial strain on Arizona. So there's a lot going on here. Um, the Red Fred didn't get exactly what they wanted, and they did promise a 20% pay raise by the year 2020.
Okay.
So it's 9% this year, and then supposedly 1%, and with like another 4% and another 5%. But see, that's where things get muddy.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
give the money to the district, and people are saying that after it's all said and done, they might only end up with a 4% pay raise.
Wow.
And the support staff got nothing.
Mm.
So November is now. I saw a quote the other day online. It was really cool. It said, "We won't know what we've won for a long time."
Hmm.
So a lot of people were not exactly happy with how it ended, but I think it showed that we had something like 90,000 people on the Capitol. Is the largest protest, I believe, in American history for education.
That's
Ever.
fantastic.
It's
dude.
insane. They were hoping to get 50, and it ended up being like 90. We had people on every corner of Tucson, up and down Broadway, parents, kids, teachers. They had the city of Tucson supervisors. They all voted to support Red for Ed. So we're hoping that there'll be a big push in November, and people have to vote correctly. They got to vote for education. You got to invest. And Arizona being a very conservative state, a lot of retired people, their kids are grown, and so when it comes time for a penny tax or taxes to increase into education, it typically gets shot down.
Wow.
You get what you paid for. And last I just looked it up. I think Arizona is like 45th if you rank what we pay in taxes. So we're really, really low. And that's why a lot of people like to come here when they retire here. And it's great if you're retired, you don't have any kids, but you still got to invest in the people around you. And these kids are going to end up growing up and being in the community,
Yeah, it's very true. It's like those destination locations where people go like, oh, it's cheap to live there. It's cheap to live there, which is great. But the people who are living there and are supporting, because generally, obviously, retirees are probably paid into the system. The last thing you want to do is pay more taxes.
Right. Yeah. They've already, their kids are grown.
Exactly.
Or whatnot. And, they're at the end of their lives. I hate to say it that way, but yeah.
The twilight, let's say the twilight of their years.
Right. Yeah. Put it into coast. So that's been going on for a really long time. And it'll really, for me, it's going to come down to what happens in November.
Yeah, man. You did. So you're pretty well versed in this. So when is this? Are you announcing like a run for office here in the near future? What's going down?
No, I've been lucky enough that my old principal ended up being the superintendent of elementary schools, and I worked under her for 6 years, and she was really ahead of our time. And her name is Maria Marin, and she just was a visionary. And our school, our elementary, went from when I first got there was a failing school, and they rank the schools now that state at the end of your testing period, which we do AZ Merit in Arizona. They rank the schools, and we pulled that school out of a failing school up into a B+ last year. We were only 2 points away. And we have a new principal now, and she's wonderful. She's very supportive, and she's a teacher first type principal. And one of the things that Maria did though to get that school there is that there was no money, right? So she had to be real creative and go out into the community. And thankfully, the Research Corporation donated an incredible amount of their time, energy, and money to our school, as a lot of other businesses. And that's great, to go outside and have private money come in. I think schools need to do that, but they shouldn't be in a position where they have to, right? So like our school has a track. An elementary school with a track. That's pretty rare. And that was all donated to us. We have a greenhouse that was donated to us. We have a complete courtyard that was redone in landscapes. Beautiful. That was donated to us. We have a tortoise habitat. That was donated to us.
So you're having people that are reaching out into the community, and so you're getting your needs met through the goodness of other people as opposed to the government itself, huh?
Yeah, or the people and the voters that are paying into the tax system, or the people.
Yeah, wow.
So that's the position that we had to be in, because people do care about kids and say, "Oh, this is about money." For the teachers, and it's really not. It's about the kids. You said we didn't walk out on the kids; we walked out for the kids. And the amount of work and effort that people have to do, like these teachers are spending, they're showing their paychecks. They're spending thousands of dollars of their own money for classroom supplies. Just basic stuff, pens, pencils. My current social studies book is something like 20 years old, and it says, "Congratulations to Bill Clinton, President of the United States." Bill Clinton.
Wow.
Not even Obama. I mean, that's a huge historical moment, right? Like, what? So we have student teachers, right, that come from the U of A, and they're like, 22, 23 years old. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, I remember when we read this book when I was in 4th grade.
That's
I did this."
disgusting, dude. That's horrible. What the fuck?
Think about how much things have changed, and even just the pedagogy of how we know how to teach children and what we know in these textbooks, right? So here's another scam, right? So I don't know if you ever watched the thing on John Oliver, but he did this wonderful segment on HBO about standardized testings, and one of the companies is this company. He actually talked a lot about this company. It's called Pearson, and they are the ones that do the AZ Merit test.
Okay.
And they make a lot of money on these kids. So these kids have ended up being that people have figured out these kids are a self-renewing cash crop, right? They make money for sitting in the desk. They make money for taking these tests. And, oh, hey, your school didn't pass. Guess what? We sell a tutoring program. Guess who sells that? Pearson. Yeah. Oh, we have an online program. It's got curriculum that your kids can log into. Guess who sells that? Pearson. Right? They have a lobbyist. Why is there a lobbyist for education, for public education? This is insane, right? So these guys are making a lot of money on these kids, man. They're making money.
These testing guys are actually very pro public education, huh?
No, not well. I don't know if they are or not. I think they figured out a way that
they can still grease the wheels with the private schools, right?
Well, everybody has to take these tests, right? But
you got it. Public and private. Okay,
money on these kids, and these kids are tested so much now. And so Pearson makes the test. Pearson does the curriculum. Pearson does the tutoring program, and they sure are making a lot of money. And if the school fails, if it fails too many years in a row, then it's up for state review. And guess who comes in? It seems pretty underhanded.
Wow.
I'm not even legally allowed to know what's on the test. This is how insane it is, right? They don't care. I think for them, they win either way. If the kids pass, great. If they don't pass, that's great. Listen how insane this is. I cannot look at the test. I have to sign a contract. I have to sign all these disclaimers saying I will not even look at a single question on the test. I don't know of any colleges that teach off syllabus. In fact, from what I know, and what I remember is anytime a professor taught off syllabus, you could have your credits given back to you, and they would basically just invalidate the class. Like if the syllabus and the curriculum and the tests or the exams didn't match up, the class was invalidated. We don't even know what's on these tests.
So who audits them then?
Well, Pearson grades them. but they don't tell you what they missed. They don't tell you exactly who missed and what missed and where you can teach them. It's a big mystery.
That's retarded.
It's ridiculous.
How do you like even say like, oh, we need to do improvement, Johnny? We need to work on your math, Susie. We need to work on your I don't know, science.
Yeah, they
There's
give the
no.
kids like a real generic term, like, hey, you tested at this, level basically on percentages, and you fall below or you were approaching or whatnot. But as far as getting the exact specifics, they don't tell us. And
That's really
if you watch that
bizarre.
HBO special, they were interviewing some of the testers that worked for Pearson, the graders, people that would grade these exams, and they were specifically told to hurry up and grade faster. And oh, hey, it seems like you're giving out too many A's. Maybe you should start thinking these as more of like a B. And it's like, well, what if they had quotas basically for A's and B's and C's? And it's like, what if you had a teacher that did a really good job and all 30 kids deserved an A? No, they can't do that, because then it's considered that the examiner isn't doing their job right.
Wow.
It's super rigged. And then based on how your school does is based on funding and based on teacher bonuses. Yet nobody knows what's on the test. It's like some miraculous miracle thing. And they give you, standards. They're trying to say, okay, well, we're going to teach the Arizona Common Core. Well, that came out like, I don't know, an addendum like 2 years ago. Before that, I think it was just Common Core. That's 2 or 3 years ago what these standards are, what you're teaching to. But the textbooks, those are 20 years old. They don't even come close to teaching the right thing. So these teachers are digging into their own pockets, man, which is absolutely insane.
So what's the fucking solution, dude? I mean, you're talking about a whole system, and I'm sure this is not just happening in Arizona. This is just.
No, it's not. It's definitely catching on, and people are starting to get pretty pissed. But we are at the bottom. We're ranked 50th, I think, or 48th in performance, 48th in what we actually, fund our students, or 50 depending on the metric. And so it's, if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. I hate to say it. People have to start investing. And for me, remember in November, that's going to be the catchphrase you're going to start seeing. They're already drawing up shirts. People are putting it on their Facebooks. And if we don't get people to actually show they care, I can go make what I make somewhere else. I think it's, and I hate to say that because I really love teaching, but it is a stressful job. And, people don't understand what it's like anymore. It's not rows and columns. I challenge people to say, hey, I'll tell you what, I know I could probably do what you do. I could do what you do, but I doubt you would survive 1 week in here with these kids. These 30 kids are going to eat you alive. We see new teachers coming in with this romantic idea of what teaching is, and it's not that way anymore. People need to come in and volunteer some time so they can see what these kids are dealing with. We're talking about kids that haven't eaten all night. They're wearing the same clothes. There's drugs, there's gangs. Their parents are having kids 15, 16, and it's not the kids' fault, but they're living on survival mode, man. They're all amped on adrenaline. They're on fight or flight all the time. They're never calm. And now you have to teach something to them that they're like, maybe.
Yeah, it's true, man.
So it's to answer your question, it's cultural. We have, your teachers are competing with video games, computers, sound systems, 3D, HD, 7.1 surround vibrating packs, and then you want to get up there and talk or do a little presentation, and they're just like,
yeah, boring. Yeah,
you
wow.
gotta light fireworks up there, and that's why I tell people you would not last. Like it's taken me, and I'm still learning. It's not easy, man. It's a craft. I put on the Culbertson show, Mr. C show every day, man. Just get these guys into what we're doing, man.
Yeah, that's true. I'd love to come and check out your class sometime, man. Next time I'm in Arizona.
Bring your sneakers. You're allowed. You just sign in. Tell me you're coming. It's public. Anybody's allowed to help out. The kids are not bad. That's what people don't understand. They're amped up, and they're not 100% worried about learning. They're worried about food, and Fridays are rough days because they don't want to go on the weekend. They don't want to necessarily stay at school, but they don't want to go home.
Yeah.
We walk every once in a while. Walk up to the Circle K for lunch, get something to drink. And it's scary. I'm a grown man, and I walk with another male teacher, and we're just like, dude, don't, keep your hands in your pocket and be careful. It's a tough neighborhood. These kids are on survival mode. So if you come, make sure you bring your sneakers. You got to keep them tied up. These kids will keep you running, man. I don't even sit at my desk. I don't even know where my desk is. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah, you don't wear dress shoes. You wear friggin' Nikes, right?
Yeah, I used to, man. I used to wear shirt, tie, and after about 3 months, I was like, I got to keep up with these dudes. I got to be comfortable." So yeah, it's you'll see us wear our Nikes and a polo,
Yeah,
ready to
right.
roll,
That's
ready to roll.
cool.
And I've had to learn to teach with a minimalist attitude. I like to be a minimalist anyway, but I don't have a lot in my classroom, man. It's me, and that's why I'm saying like I bring the material to them. Of course, we have activities and we do things, but none of that stuff is fun. None of that's given to us by the district. It's all on the teacher.
Yeah, man, and you got to it's funny because you're generating content and that content is like basically coming down from you digesting it for them because you the fucking text and the basics are so old you have to kind of you're
Yeah.
essentially like you have to give them like a update. Hey, hold on a sec, using the information I have here I'm going to update and get you up to speed really quick. That's fucking tough, man.
Well, in the 13 years I've been there, I've never had a class come to me at level. Well, that's another problem with poverty in our education system is that when they look at kids that come from low income, I think by the time they hit kindergarten, they've been exposed to something like, I don't know, 1,000 words, right?
Okay.
Maybe less, maybe less.
You mean 1,000 different words?
Yeah, vocabulary, right?
Vocabulary. Okay, got it.
So when they look at higher income SES students, they've been exposed to something like 300,000 words. And I'll give you an example. My daughter is in kindergarten and she reads at about a third grade level. She came to school on the very first day, kindergarten, reading. Um, a lot of kids at these lower schools, they're so far behind. There are no pencils in the house. You know, there are no crayons, and if they are, they get stolen or broken, or there's 10 people living in one tiny apartment. And
Wow.
and I think it was 2020, and they did this thing on how to catch kids up. And it's called intervention time, right? So for a kinder that's behind, it's something like 10 minutes a day, but it's exponential. So if they're not at level by kinder, by the time they hit to first grade, it's something like 30 minutes, right? And then by the time they get to second grade, it might be an hour. And that's additional instruction on top of a normal day, where the kid, first of all, will sit down on top of a normal day and then pay attention for under 60 minutes. By the time they hit fifth grade, it's like 3 hours or 4 hours a day. It's not going to happen, right? And by the time they hit high school, I want to say, and I think it's 2020, it was a great special on this. There's something like 20 years behind, right? So it goes all the way back to this thing about pipeline to prison. They basically are so far behind, and I think you hit on it. It's a social caste system. You know, yeah, there's kids that break through here and there, but you give so many disadvantages to the other team that it's not surprising when they don't break through. You know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in many ways, you know, like you mentioned earlier, set up for failure. It's like, come on.
Yeah, that and people don't realize it. You know, I think everybody needs to invest a little bit. I really liked in Germany when foreign exchange students stayed with us. You know, I think when they graduated high school, everybody had to do 2 years of military or like 4 years of social service.
Yep.
I think if people came into the classrooms and realized, wow, you know, these are what these kids are going to school with, or if and you'll see when you have your kids, you know, it's kind of weird that first day of kinder, you drop your kid off, you're like, wow, I'm trusting my child's life to these people. I hope they know what they're doing. And then
Yeah,
you
no
drive
shit.
away. Every single day I drive away, I'm just like, wow, this is a weird feeling, man.
Yeah, I never thought about that. It's true. It
It's
makes sense why people are always like, "Oh, I moved here for the schools." It's like, yeah,
yeah,
okay. I never really understood it. I was like, "Come on,
yeah.
fucking schools? Are you kidding me?" But
Well, and this is sad to say, but I don't take my kid to the same school I work at. You know,
yeah,
I take her to a TSD school, but I take her one down by the University of Arizona because it's like an A performing school. You
yeah,
know, I drive out of my way every day. I think I drive 40 minutes every day in the morning and 40 minutes every day back. You know, and a lot of that's to drop her off at school. But yeah, dude, that's kind of I threw a lot at you out there, but so now people are going back to work and saying, all right, well, Monday we're going to go back and try and finish this year. And you know, when November comes, it's I think we're going to see a mass exodus if people don't vote blue. I know a
yeah,
lot of people already. They're just Republican. I saw a guy today. He's our counselor. And he just said, "I'm just going to vote Democrat down the line." He goes, I'm a Republican, but never again." Yeah, you know, just so betrayed by the whole system.
yeah. Well, dude, sounds like I guess there's some victory. There's a little bit of gold in the hills, but like you said, you guys aren't going to know really what that means. But I mean, real time, like a month from now, are you going to see a pay increase, or you don't
I
even
know
know?
it'll be our next our next year contract. So it'll be the 2018-2019 contract.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think it will be. You got it's like sowing the seeds a little bit. Sowing the roots. I think hopefully it'll grow into something bigger than that, and people will start waking up, and the victory will blossom. The reality is, this has been this is the product of 10 years of neglect.
Yeah.
And people just finally said enough. And that was the other thing that blew away a lot of these teachers is, parents and people were saying, oh, they need to go back to, they need to work. They need to get back in the classroom. There's a better way to do this. They tried. I'm telling you, for 10 years, they did every possible peaceful thing they could. And the AEA or AEU, which is the Arizona Educators Organization or my mind's blanking.
Association.
Yeah, the governor wouldn't even sit down with them, not once. Once they went down there peacefully, they hand delivered letters, they requested it. Even when there was 60, 70, 80, 90,000 people chanting out there, he would never sit down, not once.
Wow.
He had already made up his mind. They had already had this whole thing under wraps, man.
So the culmination of all this, then, is there going to be money allocated in the budget, but then could voters still say, like, is this budget need to be approved by the voters, or did the council already say, yeah, it's done?
I think they already, they voted on it. I think it's done, but
Okay.
there's a lot of people saying they're not even sure how they're going to sustain this. The first time he came to it, he announced that it was going to be like they're going to start a new lottery system, a new like lotto ticket or something, and that was supposedly supposed to, fund this. So that's another thing people are scared of. Is they say, hey, we want no new taxes.
Yeah.
The money's there, and it needs to be sustainable. You need to show it. You need to prove this. And one of the other slaps in the face is not giving anything to the support staff is that residents, homeowners in the TUSD district now have to pay a 9% sale or property tax increase. 9%.
Wow.
Some of these teachers are saying, hey, I got a raise, but now they're going to tax me for 9% of my property.
Yeah, exactly. It's
and
like they're giving you here and fucking you on the other side.
Yeah. So it's because we're typically a very blue. And I try not to make this political, but the reality is you can't get out of it. It is political, and people need to start waking up and say, hey, maybe it is a little bit political. There's nothing wrong with talking about politics. We're not trying to change anybody's mind. But Maricopa County got the same tax, except somehow, because they're buddies with Ducey, they found some loophole that they don't have to pay the tax. So out of all this, only Tucson TUSD homeowners have to pay this 9% increased property tax. All for education. It's insane, man. It's insane. So it's just values. Like, where do we value education? Do we value our youth? Do we value the growth, or are we still in this just very capital dog eat dog, consume and destroy mentality, man? I do believe I like another analogy where they said it's like sailing. If you want to sail, you can't go in a straight line. You have to tack. You have to go starboard port. And so maybe we'll get there by going left and going right and going left and going.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put it, actually, as opposed to just hating someone for making a decision that was kind of like fucking harebrained. You're like, why the fuck would we do that?
Yeah, I think people are upset though because Arizona's been so far right for so long that we haven't seen anything turn back the other way. We haven't seen anybody turn towards, was it left for sailing port? I don't remember.
Yeah, left is port. Yep.
Yeah. So we've only seen starboard for a long time, and it's a pendulum. There's always this pendulum in education where, people say, oh, hey, we got to teach phonics. And then years go by and they go, oh, no, not phonics. We got to do whole literacy. And then spelling's no good. Oh, wait, maybe spelling is good. And you're just constantly trying to reinvent this wheel. I was having this conversation with Diva. I do believe 30, 40 years ago, we were probably too tough on kids. But now we've become so soft on kids that we're setting them up for a world that doesn't exist. And here's where people kind of detach and don't listen to me or her. She detaches from me. And I said, getting into the gun argument, going back to politics, and liberal and conservative, I think guns have been around for a long time, right? And we've only seen these crazy mass shootings in the last, 6, 7, 8 years. So what's changed? What's the variable?
You're right. There's been a huge spike in that stuff in the last so in the last decade, things have dramatically changed.
And I don't think the guns have changed, right? Like, those are the same guns they were using in Vietnam, most of these M16s, AKs, whatever, right? So they're still out there.
Yep.
I think.
And there's a weapons ban. There's a fucking weapons ban, during that time too.
Was there?
Yeah, the Clinton got a weapons ban passed. It went for 10 years. So one might argue there were less guns. There are more guns now, probably.
It's a little more easier to access, I guess.
It's easier now. Yeah, I would
But
say.
they were still out there, and I think if the kids wanted to find them, they could. So I think that what's happened is you look at the society; it's a very stressed culture. Americans don't even know who they are. There is no pride. People coming back from World War II were proud. They had something real to fight for. They weren't triggered because somebody, didn't make their coffee correctly. And I think that we've created this society now where kids are so soft that what we've forgotten to do is teach kids how to. We've spent so much time on trying to stop bullying that we've forgotten to teach kids how to stand up for themselves. We've forgotten how to teach our youth to have self-love and self-respect. And so the first time somebody has a critique or criticism of them, they can't help it. They're
Yeah.
triggered. They said I'm a bad driver and get home and get my gun. And I came from a school of hard knocks, man. There were bullies and it sucked and it did damage. And I'm not saying that was a good thing, but we also did a better job back then of teaching kids to learn to stand up for themselves. And
Yeah, and
I don't
knowing
see that anymore.
righteous anger and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the complacency that I think that we created with this whole, latest generation is just we got to teach kids to start having self-esteem and that it's okay to be different. It's okay if somebody doesn't like you for whatever reason, you can still respect each other, right? So our culture, like, where's the value system and the respect? So yeah, I think it needs to be somewhere in both. We still need to make sure that we're being self-conscious about what we say and how we, treat each other, but gotta teach our youth to be tough too, man. I really do believe in that. We really got to teach these guys to start standing up for themselves because you can't be with them everywhere. You got to. They're going to go out in the world, and the first time they see somebody that says something bad, they're not prepared for that. We haven't prepared them at all for that.
I know. It's true. Like we're all part of the same group. We're all part of the same tribe. It's like, dude, we got to take care of each other. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
I know it sounds like totally hippy dippy utopian, but it's like it can be done, dude.
it can. I think on the same token, though, if we were if we are a tribe, and I do believe we are a tribe, but if we were somehow stuck in some post-apocalyptic island, right? Everyone's got to contribute a little bit, right? So I don't know how to farm, but I'll teach your kids, right? And so on and so on. I don't know how to make clothes, but somebody does. But some of these people, they're not helping at all. Like, the system's not designed for people to perpetually just be taking. Maybe I'll be wrong, and we'll have robots that do all the work, and we will end up in a utopian, basic universal income type situation. But right now, I think there needs to be a value change. People need to be proud to be American. It sucks that war has been the only thing to really unite people in the last, couple hundred years. Like
I know.
that's not
National
good.
tragedies always codified patriotism and struggle. There's this great book by this guy named Sebastian Junger. It's called Tribe, actually, and he talks a lot about like the people who like survived the Blitz in England during World War II. Actually, there are people who missed it. Like they missed the camaraderie and the
Yeah.
closeness that it brought them. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
even people more modern from Afghanistan, soldiers obviously suffering PTSD. They're like, damn, I want to go back because we were all in it together and we were a team. Here everybody's so out for themselves, it's just fucking with me.
Yeah. There's a meaning in, yeah, right. Yeah, bondage. Um, yeah, I think it's a huge cultural problem. Man. If you look at these other
Yeah.
countries that religion matters and music matters and food and family, and here it's dollar bills.
Yeah, dude, you gotta it, it's fucking awesome to talk to you on here, but I've always thought that you're super articulate. Like, are you on social media? Like, where could people find you or find more about what you're talking about here?
Well, I'm on Facebook. It's hard. I was kind of taking a hiatus from it for the same reason everybody else is. It just became this place of negativity. But I do believe it can be used as a tool. And so yeah, I'm just Craig Culbertson on Facebook. And one of the things I would suggest or urge people to follow is the Red for Ed movement. It's going to be it's in multiple states, and you'll probably see it starting to move. AEA, you can follow that website as well, and you can find out what's going on. But really, it's right now. It's Remember in November, and the power is still in the people. We can vote these people out, but people have to get up and stop being complacent. It's if you settle for less now, you'll settle for nothing later.
Yeah. Have you thought about like? Are you legitimately thinking about like, fuck, maybe I'll not teach?
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
I am, and I feel like this is a calling, but it'd be pretty. I don't know, it'd be easier on me. And Diva stopped. She quit. She got out a month ago, and she was only bet. If I'm a good teacher, she's 10 times what I am, and we lost her. You know, she finally she gave up after 12 years and decided that she wanted to take care of her family, and she got a different job. So it's just really good talking to you, man. Talking about being out in nature. Your brother said you've been hiding in the hills a lot, bud.
Yeah, man. I've been definitely spending more time, and I think heeding the call of like being outdoors, and I think a lot of that has to do with just even my own need to disconnect from the madness, whether that's like
Yeah,
work or relationship or just honestly, it's more about like just literally unplugging because when you go to those settings and you go to those environments, you're forced to disconnect, you know?
yeah. It's not natural in our evolution of being here for what 7 million years. It's only been what last 10 that it's been nonstop media, nonstop, right? And now you don't even know
Right.
it's real anymore.
Yeah, no.
I got it's funny you bring that up. I actually got back on the mountain bike a couple weeks ago.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was really fun, man. There's a lot of desert out by my house, and I just no music. I don't plug in my headset or anything. I just go, just me and nature. And I forgot how much I like that, man. Just getting out there and just kind of like that meditation, zen. You're just kind of letting your mind wander while you're riding.
Yeah, man.
Uh, one,
There's something about it. It's like fine. It's funny. We were talking about it like I was talking about it earlier today with a buddy of mine, but it's like you have to be okay with the like most people they're going to be bored. They're like, "Oh, I'm bored. I'm going to look at my phone." Or I'm going to go try to find something. But you have to just be comfortable with chilling, dude. Just
yeah.
nothing and just embracing that. You know what I mean?
Yep, and our kids do not have that. I can tell you in 13 years of teaching, our kids don't have the ability to be calm anymore. They can't just be. Typically in my classroom, if it's quiet, they get nervous and they start making noise on sound, they'll bang stuff and hum. It's reversed, you know. Most of us think relaxation is quiet, right? Well, that makes them nervous. They're completely wired for cortisol. They're totally opposite. And it's because they're overstimulated, man. You got the phone, you got the radio, you got the TV, you got someone talking, you got somebody else talking. They're tapping, they're doing a billion different things. They don't know how to just be. And I saw a research article not too long ago. It said the best things you can do for your kid is let them be bored.
Yeah,
It
it's true.
forces them to use their imagination and figure out for themselves what they want to do. Humans aren't meant to be entertained nonstop. You can entertain yourself.
I like that, man. That's fucking awesome.
So I was, I got a bike that's a single gear, right? It's a mountain bike, but only has one gear.
Okay, is that big fat tires on it?
It's got 29ers, but they're not the super fat.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And I forgot I'm not as young as I used to be. So I don't know, man. About a month ago, my daughter and I we were cruising over right behind my house. There was like a wash, and it's great to see that there's still some desert out here. I tell you what. And we headed over this little hill, and there was a bunch of high school kids. And I was like, oh no, they're ditching, and God knows what they're doing. And I got my daughter with me, and I started watching them, dude, and they all had shovels. And I was like, oh God, what are they doing? Burying a body, or what the hell is going? Turns out they were actually, and I love this, dude. Maybe there's a reverse, right? And they always talk about what is exotic, right? Is what people end up want to go to. What is not hip becomes hip, right? These kids were out there with shovels making a BMX track. They were
That's
ditching school, but they weren't smoking dope or anything. They were out there they were building a track. I thought that was and it's a pretty gnarly track. So tell you a story, I don't know, got on the bike and thought I could hang old school on these BMX jumps, dude. I bailed. I sailed pretty hard into the ground, man. Eat some dirt. I had to re-download my brain sitting in there, man. And I talk about that a lot. Dude, back when I was a kid, man, if you fell on your bike, there was no calling your mom to come get you, or you cry in the dirt until you picked yourself up and carried
oh
your bike
god.
home. Bent tire, flat tire, or what, dude? You're gonna sit there until you got your butt up.
I can always remember just multiple times just racking myself on my bike, like flying off the bike as I'm jumping, and then landing on the fucking frame.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
And
I
your
remember
buddies
that.
watch you, right? And they go, "Damn, that was crazy." And then
You
and then
know?
what do they do, boys? They go, my turn, and then they do it. It's terrible, man.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the comments. It's good talking to you, man. Now what's
Yeah,
up?
man.
When's your girl having her kid? When? August 11th?
Dude, close to your birthday, August 11th.
August 11th, dude. That's crazy. The one thing I can tell you, man, is the biggest change I think is like all your instincts will kick in. You'll be fine. You really will. What I had to learn, I don't know about you, but what I had to learn is I think the biggest change was the scheduling. Like right now you're on Greg's time. Yeah, you go to work or you gotta balance things on her. But with the kid, it's one dude, even going to the bathroom. There were times where I was like holding her and going to the bathroom at the same time, like, so like when they fall asleep, do what you gotta do. Don't wait. If they fall asleep, you might get 20 minutes, you might get an hour. But you don't know. So if you gotta go take a nap or do what you gotta do, dude, when they go to sleep, get your shit done, bro. Like, cause that's the biggest adjustment is figuring out like all on them. And now it's starting to slowly unwind the other way. Now that she's only 5, but I get a little more free time, and now we can start to do things together. We watched Troll Hunters on Netflix. She thought that was cool.
That's awesome.
Hey, before I let you go, man, tell me, dude, have you watched any of the new Cobra Kai on the YouTube Red?
It's funny you say that. So I have been seeing a lot of it, and it is tugging on my heartstrings like crazy. I have not watched it though. No,
bro,
is it awesome?
Fucking yes, it is awesome.
I heard it's absolutely brilliant.
It is brilliant because the things that were cheesy before are kind of serious now, and the things that were serious before they make fun of. It's humorous, but they're also humble about it. They're kind of laughing at themselves, but dude. Holy shit, it goes into everything I just been talking about this pendulum and looking at both sides, right? And I'm not going to say anything more than that, but we started watching last night. They're only 30-minute episodes, or maybe only 20-minute episodes. There's only 10. And bro, we nailed through 4 or 5 and wanted to keep watching. The only reason why we stopped is because we were exhausted. But the first month is free on YouTube Red. Click that shit right now and watch the first episode, and you'll be like, "This is what I'm doing all night, dude." Fuck it, I love it. Call me when you watch it, dude. It's free.
I will do that.
Free for the first month.
I will do that, dude. I will let you know how, because Karate Kid. It's like our childhood right there,
Dude, it is. They do such a good job of taking the 80s and blending. Oh man, no, it's fucking wonderful. And I never know if sequels do, but these guys must have really. I think the guy that plays Johnny Lawrence, and then what the hell is LaRusso's name?
Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, I think they really sat down and took their time on this, dude. And we're like, all right.
Are they the creators?
I think they are co-producers, and there's somebody else in there. I could be wrong, dude, but this is done right, dude. It's cheesy, but it's serious. It's got a good message, dude, and like the protagonist, antagonist, it makes you really stop and think. Did you ever see that funny thing that on YouTube where the guy's like Ralph, or he goes, Daniel-san was the real enemy, was the real bad guy?
No, I never saw that.
Satire, dude. It's like 6 minutes. Watch that before you watch anything on regular YouTube. It's like 5 or 6 minutes. This guy does a commentary and he talks about how the Daniel-san was tormenting Johnny and always after his girl. Dude, it's meant to be funny, but dude, it actually makes you think and you go, you know what? Daniel-san kind of was a dick, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll check it out.
So that's a free precursor. That has 8.5 million views. That came out like years ago, but it's hilarious. RedTube just came out. Not RedTube, that's porn. YouTube Red. Be careful what you type in there. You might end up on the wrong website there, dude.
That's funny.
It just came out yesterday, dude. I can't say enough about it. Watch it. 20 minutes.
I'll do it, brother. Love you, man.
Yeah, you too, dude. Next time, let's talk about more whimsical things, yeah? Do your shit. Take a minute to reflect on by watching Daniel-san.
I will do that. Love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Peace.
Peace.
Campfire Wisdom is brought to you from the hills of Rancho Cucamonga. We'd like to thank the men and women that protect our national parks and forests. You make this journey possible. Theme music by Sean Cromwell.